Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone, and happy Thursday. All day is Thursday. And it is actually morning time. It's about let's see. It's about, y'all see that piece sticking up right there? Because I told y'all I left my edges out this time, so I have to get used to doing my edges with braids. But okay. But anyway, I'm actually on in the morning, which is a great thing. It's a little bit later than what I intended to be recording. I normally like to start my day at like 7:30 in the morning for work. So I start my day a little bit earlier than what I have to, but I like to start at 7:30. It is almost 7 o'clock now, but I wanted to get on and do this video. And this is more of a mental health video focused on children, because I think it's important. I think it's very, very important. I feel like spiritual and mental health needs to be tied together in this, the way the world is right now. And I was in Bible study last night, and a question was asked: if a child is acting up in a store, who's basically at fault, the child or the parent? And of course we were leaning towards the biblical side, like, okay, the spiritual side of it. But the way my mind is wired up because of the education that I have with children, I looked at it a little bit different than everyone else. And I think I probably was the only one who literally looked at it the way that I saw it. And a lot of times when I do, and I'm being very transparent, I do know that there's people that watch my videos from my church. This is my truth. So I'm being very transparent right now. I tend not to speak up when I see that I'm the only one who feels a certain way. And God has told me to speak up several times. Like, you have to speak up. You have to know when to advocate, whether you're the only one, because just because you're the only one who feels a certain way does not mean that you're, you're the one that's wrong. But the teaching was very, very, very good. It was a great, great teaching. But with that example, when the question that we were asked, I just felt like I said way different than everyone else. Most people said both the child and the parent, right? And then somebody actually broke it down. I don't remember who, and they was like, yeah, because if the child is a certain age, they know right from wrong. I don't feel like that. There's adults that still, I don't know. I just don't feel like that, because it's adults that display behaviors because they don't have the tools. They've never been taught what they should do. And some of them don't know how to teach themselves things. It was a lot of things that I was not taught as a kid, but I think because I was just anointed as a kid, I had it in me. So I kind of knew what I didn't need to do, and it wasn't appealing to me to do a lot of worldly things. But some kids suffer from mental illness, and maybe I'm looking at this too broad. But if a child has ADHD, bipolar, schizophrenic, any type of thing, autistic, and they're in the store acting out, and the child can't help themselves, obviously. So that's not a reflection of the parent nor the child. That's a reflection of mental illness, right? And let's say the child is a quote unquote normal child, which means has no behavior issues, no mental illness at all. And they're in the store throwing a tantrum. We see it all of the time. I don't say it's the child's fault, because if the child has not been taught that the behavior is inappropriate, they're going to do it to get the attention that they need. I don't care if you're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. If it has not been told to you that the behavior is inappropriate, you don't know that you're doing anything wrong, right? So when you're a child, so that's what I'm saying. It's kind of like, I think I said it yesterday on the video, like a lot of times it's like, do as I said on my live, do as I say, not as I do. Like, but we have to teach the behavior, and we have to model for our children. So if your child is in a household where there's cussing all the time, anger, not able to communicate in an effective way, it's not that child's fault when they go to school and they're angry, they're fighting, and they don't know how to communicate. That's what they know. That's what they have been exposed to. So I wouldn't dare blame it on a child that comes into my classroom and they're angry. For example, I remember it was a little boy that came in my room, 3-year-old little boy. I think it was like 2 months before he came, he witnessed his mom get murdered by his dad. This baby was angry. He was really, really angry. I didn't fault him. He's suffering and he's in pain. He was in a household that was very destructive, obviously, very violent. So he doesn't know anything but violence. So when he's upset and he's not knowing how to handle emotions, he automatically is going to lash out. So that's why I did not fault him. And I think maybe I'm looking at this a little bit too deep. I don't know, but that's just how I look at it. Even if it's a teenager, and it's a lot of teenagers that's walking around angry and don't know how to handle emotions, and in school they're always getting in trouble and they're talking back to the teachers. I don't fault them if they're in a household that's destructive and they haven't had any type of guidance. Now, if they've had guidance outside of the house and people have tried to pour into them, then that's totally different. But if you don't, I say this all the time, and it really goes for children as more than anything. Children, like babies, toddlers, young children, preteens, teenagers, and even our young adults, if they haven't been placed with the tools and the knowledge that they need, how can we expect them to pull things? If they don't have it in their toolbox, the skills that we should be giving them, how can we expect them to pull it out? So I don't know. And like I said, I could be looking at this just like way too deep. But I don't know. I just think that's why expectations for children and our preteens and our teenagers are so sometimes out of line, because you're setting expectations for them to do things that you haven't gave them the tools. They don't know how to do it. It's like saying throwing a pack of chicken on the counter and saying, okay, I need you to clean it and then cook it. And they don't know anything about a skillet. They don't know anything about water. They don't know they don't know anything about a pot. They don't know anything about these things, but you're telling them to clean this and just make a meal when they never been taught how to do it. Like, so where do they get the knowledge from? Does it just drop from the sky? Like, where do the kids get the knowledge from? How do they know how to do the right thing? How do they know what they need to do? That is my question. And it's even adults. Like, you see children that have more knowledge with certain things than adults. And then you're like, that's a grown person. How do they not know? If they've never been taught or exposed to it in the proper way, they don't know. But if for example, you have an 11-year-old and then you have this, 30-year-old. The 11-year-old knows how to handle their emotions better than the 30-year-old. So the 11-year-old is having the emotional time because, let's just give an example. Okay, the 11-year-old is having having a hard time emotionally due to the fact of grades being horrible in school, and they're just struggling in school, and you have already told them, if you don't get your grades up, you can't get this game or whatever. And they know how, you've already gave them the tools. Y'all talked about strategies. When you're having a hard time, this is what you do. All of these things, you've had these conversations with them. And then you have this grown adult at work who wants this raise, and they feel like they're doing everything that they should be doing to get this raise, but it's somebody else who is applying themselves a little bit more so they get the raise. But that adult never has been taught the tools on how to handle their emotions and, breathe it out, and, the strategies. They don't have those tools in their toolbox. So they end up lashing out at work. They're angry. They're upset. And this is a grown person. They're 30 years old. And they're angry. They're upset. And I'll forget this. I'm going to quit this job. And this 11-year-old that you said, you're not going to be able to get this because your grades are not okay. And they're able to, because you gave them the tools. It's very similar things, like you want more money, you want an item. So the 11-year-old is able to, okay, yeah, shoot, she did give me the tutor. And when the tutor was trying to, tutor me, I wasn't paying attention. So this is kind of on me. Dang. So that means I'm going to have to really grind and get myself together, because they had those tools. This other person, this grown adult, never was taught the tools. So, and I do feel like it's that parent's fault. It's that parent's fault. You probably, most of the time when it's adults like that, they have been enabled their whole life. Their whole life, they haven't been held accountable for anything. You have enabled them. You have bailed them out of every situation that they get into. So they just don't know how to handle when life is really lifing. When they're not getting their way, they're throwing a tantrum. But on the other hand, this 11-year-old who's had these strategies, you have been teaching them since they were little, a toddler, a baby, even a baby, because a baby can be taught. A baby can definitely be taught. If you keep throwing the toy down every time I give it to you, you're no longer going to get it. So you're crying for it. No, you have thrown it down 10 times. And no, you're not getting it. Just because they don't have the vocabulary does not mean they don't understand. So my thing is, if we set them up young, they will have the tools. But if we don't set them up young, they won't. And that doesn't lie on the child. That lies on the parent. Not even just the parent, also the community, because it takes a village. It takes a village to raise up a child. So so for example, me, if I'm around children and I see that they're doing wrong, I say something. A lot of times we don't in our communities at the time that we're at now, just because parents are so offended. Parents are always, but I'm quick to do it. And my kids know it. It gets on it gets on Leisha's nerves when I do it a lot of times, because she don't know what the consequence is going to be, but I know God has me covered. So if I'm seeing young preteens or teens fighting, or even young elementary school, I'm stopping the car and I'm having a conversation with them and letting them know this is not okay. That is not how we handle situations that we're not happy with, that we don't agree on. We have conversations. So even as as a community, we also have to step in. But if you have not been taught the tools, if you have not been given the tools, how can they know that it's wrong? So that was just like my issue with it. Unless you're somebody who literally, like me, I was not given a lot of tools, but I just knew what I needed to do. I just kind of knew what I needed. I wasn't interested in a lot of the worldly things. So sometimes it can be like that as well. But if you're not exposed to anything and you don't know, how's that your fault? And that's just how I feel, especially with children. So if a child is having a tantrum in the store, it could be for a variety of reasons. They could be overstimulated, which means it's too many things going on at once. And that's normally autistic kids can be overstimulated easily. Leisha, is that you? Can you come for a second? But they can be overstimulated really, really easy. So it's not their, in that case, it's not their fault, and it's also not the parents' fault. Can you cut the air? I cut the air on. Can you just cut it up to 69? But if it's a kid with like autism or something like that, it's not even their fault. It's not even the mom's fault. That it just got on the charger. You didn't put it on last night. So I don't know if you want to go do your hygiene, like do everything that you have to do and then come back for it. But excuse me, y'all, that's Leisha. Leisha, tell our family good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, she's just getting up to start her day. But even, you know what, I'm gonna speak about that too. Like with her, for example, she has anxiety. So I can't be mad at her if we're in a public setting and she just don't really, like she's saying good morning in a low voice, or, you know, all of those things. Like I can't get upset with her. That's something out of her control. But we're working on it definitely. So now she's getting better at it, but I can't expect her to look like, for example, I can't expect Leisha to look like Elijah. I can't expect Elijah to look like Leisha. They both have things that they're dealing with. One has anxiety, depression. The other one has ADHD. So they're going to not look like the quote unquote average child. So that's what we have to realize. Like I was saying, a child that's autistic can be in the store acting up because they're overstimulated. That is not the parent's fault nor the child's fault. They're overstimulated. And what I mean by that is too much going on at one time. The lighting may be too bright. It's a whole bunch of reasons why an autistic child would be acting out, or an autistic person, period. Because it's adults that's autistic. Because when you have these issues, you have these issues, right? Like, they don't disappear. It's things that you can do. You can pray. You can take medication that you can do to cope with it, but it's always in you. I will always be a person who suffers from anxiety. Now, do I have to be medicated for my whole life? No. Because I prayed, you know, God is a good God. He can help you deal with any situation. Like an alcoholic will always be an alcoholic. Just because you haven't had a drink in 20 years, you will always be an alcoholic, you know, regardless of the circumstances. So that's what I think. I don't know. I feel different when it comes to that. And I think it's because of the hat that I wear, the education hat that I wear, especially with young children, especially with children with disabilities, because that's what my specialty was. Like it still is, rather. So I just look at it differently. I look at it a lot differently, and I feel like we have to advocate for our parents and our children who's dealing with this. And when we see them in the store, we cannot be as judgmental. And I'm not even just saying that for other people, even myself, because sometimes when I see a child acting, I'm like, dang, she needs to get her kid together. Like, I wish mine would, you know. But then I also go back and I'm like, you know what? I don't know what their circumstances is. I don't know what this child's condition is. I don't know what the mom is going through. I don't know what the household looks like. So I just think we have to like dive a little bit deeper in certain topics, and that's one of them. Like I said, it was definitely a great lesson. That question just was kind of like, I don't know. And then this morning when I was talking to my best friend, you know, she's also works in the same field. We deal with children. We you know, mental health is important to us, and I just wanted her opinion about it to see, you know, have a conversation with her, because both of us, we like to debate. We like to, you know, talk. So I asked her and she was like, no, I feel like you're right, but I also, so she looked at it a little bit different than I did. And she said, it's kind of like it's not an answer that's just a straightforward answer. it has so many different layers to it. And when she said that, I'm like, okay, you're right, because I wasn't here for it with that. And I'm someone who definitely advocates for children, because I don't know, and I'm about to get emotional, because our babies, they're so sacred, and we can just, I just don't like for it to be like that, not even with our parents, because you never know a parent's situation. And if we were not raised up with the tools, we don't have it to give to our children. And I am so blessed that I was able to break the cycle of things that I was taught. And everybody's not able to do that. So we cannot just be so judgmental on so many different things. And we just got to advocate for our children. And those of you who know me and who has been like watching me or know me personally, you know I have worked for Head Start for over 25 years. So, and that Head Start, if you don't know about it, they cater to the ages of 0 through 5. And they also cater to parents who are living in poverty, who doesn't have the tools that they need to give their children what they're supposed to have. And we have to help not just the children, but also the parents get the knowledge that they need to help their children grow. And we give the children the tools that they need to grow. Like Head Start is big on social emotional development. That's where it stems from. Like on the first few weeks of school, you're not doing lesson plans from the curriculum. You're focused on the social emotional piece for weeks before you move on to math and science and reading and writing. Like you're focused on all of those things first, because that's where it all stems from. If I'm not, and this is with adults too, if I have nothing to give you emotionally, I can't give you anything else. I can't learn to write. I can't learn to read. I can't learn to talk. None of those things. So Head Start is really big on the social emotional piece. Really big on it. So I think that's where my mind always go whenever I hear anything about children, whether they're 0 to 5 or 0 to 18. I'm big on that, because if the 18-year-old was not given the tools that they needed at 6 months, 1, 10, they're not, it's going to be the same. It's literally going to be the same. So even the women and the adults, the women and men that are walking around angry, upset, don't know how to deal with stuff, lashing out, frustrated because everybody's not seeing the same thing, seeing things the same way that they are, and they can't deal with, like, I don't have to think like you. That's because as a child, they were not giving the tools that was needed. That's not their fault. It's not their fault. When they're a kid, it's definitely not their fault. If they haven't been exposed to it as a preteen, as a teenager, as a young adult, it's not their fault. And what I mean by that, if I'm in a community that's very, very toxic, no one has ever poured into me, no one has ever exposed me to anything other than what I know. If I don't have the tools like embedded in me like it was with me, I don't, there's nothing. So if I would have turned out, what was bad in my community? If I would have turned out like selling drugs or on the street corner and all of those things, then it's like, okay, I'm doing it because it's what I know. Eventually, hopefully, I get something in my mind that triggers and, something helps me to say this is not right, or someone sees me out on the street corner and they pull me to the side and tell me this is not what you should be doing. You're worth so much more. And they pour into me. Now I have the knowledge because something has clicked in my head. Like, I really don't like the way this feels. I know everybody else is doing it, but something is not right. Or if someone sees me and they're actually pouring into me, about it, then I know it's not right. Now it becomes my fault because I had this lesson and I have it in my head that I feel like it's not right, like something is not right about this, and I'm still choosing to do it, then it becomes it's on me. But if I don't have any knowledge of it being wrong and I only know what I know, it doesn't lie on me, right? If I'm like a cult, if I'm only in this environment and I'm not exposed to anything else, like I've never seen the outside world, I've only seen this little community of people, nothing else. I don't have no technology to look up, nothing else. Like, how do I know what I'm going through is not okay? I'm not exposed to anything else. So how do I know? So the same thing with children. If I'm in a house, my mama and daddy's fighting, I'm constantly looking at my mama get beat by my daddy, or even my daddy being beat by my mama, because women can also be physically abusive. Or I'm just watching them argue, cuss, fuss all of the time. This is all that I've been exposed to. I don't go anywhere. I'm always at home with my parents, or maybe I do go to my grandparents' house, but there is toxic too. Everybody's drinking, smoking, cussing, everybody's outside hanging out, doing all these things. So I'm still exposed to the same thing, whether I'm at home or I'm at my granny's house, or if I'm at my TT house, I'm still exposed to the exact same things. And then my mom decided to put me in school. I go to school and I'm in Pretend and Learn, which is the place that's set up like a home, and I'm smoking. Or if I'm on my phone having a conversation, because I literally remember this one year I was in school. When I was a teacher, little girl was in Pretend and Learn, and I'm looking for something to pretend like it's a phone. Okay. The little girl was in Pretend and Learn, and we have like the phones over there. She has the phone up to her ear, and she's on the phone talking. And the little girl's like, "Oh, really? Uh-huh. Okay, I see you want to act like that. Well, you know what? You ain't getting no tonight." And me and my co-teacher, we turn around and we're like, did she just say what we think she just said? And we both were shocked, but we couldn't get mad at her. I automatically said, let me go to this child and have a conversation with her about how that's not okay, because this is a learned behavior. This is what obviously she's heard her mama saying, some woman saying, because she was very, like she said the actual word. So it's like, that was her environment. That's what she know. So it wasn't her fault. It was the parents' fault, or whomever she's heard saying that, right? So that's what I mean by that. And I hope this is understood. I have to go ahead and start working. But I just wanted to talk about that because it's so important that we not fault people, children, toddlers, preteens, teenagers, for things that they just don't know. And like I said, even if it's a young adult, or even sometimes an adult who's always been bailed out, who's always, they just don't have the tools. Now, once they get the tools, if they're choosing not to pull them out their toolbox, then that's something totally, that's something that definitely lies on them. But sometimes tools are not available and they just don't have them. We cannot fault them for that. Now, what we can do is help them figure it out. So have a great day, Camila Squad. And I just pray that this touched somebody, that someone got a little bit of understanding. I pray that if anyone is struggling with their children, it just gives them, this just gives them some hope. Because if you're struggling with a child that has any type of condition, I don't care from anxiety all the way to schizophrenia, bipolar schizophrenia, and there's so many things in the middle of those two, all the way from ADHD, autism, depression. Just know you're not alone. And I know it's a struggle. I know you feel guilty. And if you're trying your best, keep going and start praying and ask God to give you the tools that you need to be able to support your child in the way that they need it. You know, it's a struggle. It's definitely a struggle. Even depression, it's real in our children. And when they're depressed, they can lash out as well. And just know I'm here. I'm here. You can always message me. You can leave it. I'm always here to support anyone because it is hard. Like I've said several times on my page, I had 3 children in my home who suffered from something. I think everyone in my home suffered from something, and it's a task to just manage it and deal with it. And a lot of times we are so judged, and it's a reflection of us, how they tend to act. And sometimes we have tried everything that we know. So just know you can definitely just keep going, keep pushing, and allow God to give you the tools that you need. Go to him and pray. Ask him for wisdom when it comes to it. And also do a lot of research for different strategies, because putting your hands on a child is not the answer most of the time. Yes, back in the day, that was the solution. If I hit him, he would act right. But you don't want your children to fear you. You want your children to respect you. And I'm going to pause this right here, and I'm going to continue because I want to talk about that too. But I have to go to work. So I'll continue this video most definitely. And I'll see y'all in a little bit. Okay.